From SF Land, this is Dorking Out, a podcast for people who love to dork out about movies, TV, and everything pop culture.
Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and I will break into your house and organize your pantry. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. Do you want to hear my Patrick Bergen impression?
Yeah.
Here we go. Laura!
You have been practicing. That's really good.
There's a clip of it on YouTube, and it's like 25 seconds of him screaming, Laura. He's ridiculous.
I have to assume that somebody has taken that and looped it, and it's like a 10-hour version where it's just Laura, Laura for 10 hours. In case you don't know, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Julia Roberts' Pretty Woman, we've decided to talk about 1991 Sleeping with the Enemy.
Her second movie.
Her second big movie. It is written by Ronald Bass. He also won an Oscar for Rain Man before this. I thought that was interesting. It's based on the book Sleeping with the Enemy, which I didn't know, written by Nancy Price, and Margo has the book, so we're going to talk about that. It's directed by Joseph Rubin, who did movies like The Good Son and Money Train and Return to Paradise. Did you see Return to Paradise? That movie's fucked up.
Which one's Return to Paradise?
It's the one
Who's in
with
that?
Vince Vaughn and Joaquin Phoenix, and they're like partying in Thailand. And they have like all this pot or something, and then Joaquin Phoenix gets busted with it, and he ends up in a Thailand prison.
Oh, no, thank you.
It's a fucked up movie, just saying. This movie, though, Sleeping with the Enemy, also kind of fucked up. Stars Julia Roberts and her gorgeous hair, Patrick Bergen and Kevin Anderson.
His gorgeous mustache.
And Kevin Anderson, and he's got a beard.
Fluffy hair.
He's got fluffy hair and a beard.
Yeah. He's got very fluffy hair. It reminds me of Flat Top and Dick Tracy.
That's a good description. Yes.
When it's parted in the middle, it's kind of puffy on the sides. It's all business on top.
Look, I don't want to say... I'm going to make it clear right off the bat. I have nothing against Kevin Anderson, but I do have some things against the character he plays in this movie. And
No. We should always make it clear. We're not mad at the actors.
Yeah.
They're just doing their jobs.
Yes, it's not their fault.
They have the least amount of power of everybody. They got to just show up and do their job. So we're never mad. Very rarely are we mad at the actors or their choices.
Yes.
But I think, okay, well, we got to get into this movie because let's just talk about it because you and I were alive back then. Julia Roberts in 1990, when she did Pretty Woman, she became a superstar.
Yeah, she was like the biggest star in the world. She was insanely popular. And this was her follow-up to Pretty Woman.
Exactly. And it was a big deal because right before this, Home Alone was the number one movie for like 3 or 4 months. And
isn't that crazy? That a movie could be number one for that long? That was the thing that happened, you guys. We didn't have such short attention spans, I guess.
You just couldn't. You couldn't get the movie for 6 months for rental. You were lucky if it showed up in 6 months.
Yeah,
for rental. So you saw it multiple times in the movie theater. And so this is one of those also in the late 80s and then into the 90s. They just had a lot of adult thrillers, and sometimes they were about sex and mystery, and sometimes it was just about stalking.
Yes.
And this is the latter.
This is the kind of movie you would find on like Lifetime now.
Yes.
Like, this is very Lifetime-esque, this movie. But, like you said, there were a ton of these, like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Single White Female, Basic Instinct, all those.
Yeah.
They're all this kind of movie that I don't think they really... Now these kind of movies come out on Lifetime, basically.
Yeah.
Did you see this one in the theater?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a good thriller. And I wanted to see the follow-up. I mean, she was a big deal. That's why I was like, she was like appointment movie watching. Julia Roberts was in a movie, went to see the movie, because she was like the biggest star in the world. And I remember watching it going, there's a lot here that just doesn't make a bit of sense to me. And seems rather preposterous, but I don't mind preposterous sometimes. If the movie's just really good, I'll let it go.
Yeah.
This is not a good movie,
No.
but I found it very watchable and entertaining, but I will be honest with you, I was laughing at it after a while.
I actually think the movie starts out pretty good.
Yes,
Like,
the first 10 minutes are great.
She, in case you don't know what Sleeping with
Yes.
the Enemy is about, Julia Roberts is married to Patrick Bergin, and the first like 10 or 15 minutes, you kind of like, oh, maybe they're in a happy marriage. They're in this like gorgeous beach house, and she's like out clamming, as you do. She's out there digging up clams, and he comes out in his suit, and he's like, I have to go into work, blah, blah, blah. And they like kiss, and, everything's fine or whatever. And they go to like a party, and you start to sense that things are weird. Like, he kind of dictates what dress she should wear to the party. He's staring at her wherever she's going throughout the party. And then they like go home, and he like kind of grabs her and starts kissing her, and they do it, as married couples sometimes do, I heard. And I'm just kidding. But then like things start to get really tense after that. There's like some weird exchanges where like the hand towels are a little uneven, and he's, like, why are the hand towels uneven? I'm reminding you to keep them even. He's a little OCD. He's violently OCD, apparently.
Yeah.
And later he accuses her of like having the hots for the neighbor, and neighbor is pretty handsome. I might have the hots for the neighbor too, but
oh, of course.
Yeah, that's Kyle Secor, who was in the TV show Homicide: Life on the Street. I always had a little crush on him, so I was like, oh, I forgot he was in this.
And he had hair.
Yeah, he's so handsome.
He's really handsome.
And then he hits her, and it's so violent, and it seems to like kind of come out of nowhere, and you're like, damn.
They set it up really beautiful. Yeah. They set it up beautifully. So like, you're on, at one point he's asking her what's for dinner, and she describes like a perfect dinner, like she's a chef or something, but she seems nervous all the time when she's around him. And then when he does, he just backhands her, and she just flies on the floor, and he kicks her. Yeah. And that's when you realize, oh, this guy's an abusive shithead. And they make it clear that she's someone that's afraid of the water, and she doesn't know how to swim. So they decide to go sailing at night in a small boat.
What could go wrong?
And those things are scary under good conditions. But if you're somebody who doesn't know how to swim, that is not the place to be.
Yeah.
But
and apparently Kyle Secor is like playing a neurologist who lives next door, and he convinces them to go on his boat. And apparently dude doesn't know how to read weather reports, because he's like, it's supposed to be a beautiful night. Next thing you know, it's like the storm of the century.
It's the perfect storm. Yes. Expect like George Clooney to show up. It's ridiculous. And they make it clear. Well, there's a couple of scenes where, and it's the same. It's actually like the same as in the book, in that like she takes swim lessons on the sly.
Yeah.
Away from him. And then she knocks out one of the lights on the beach so she could see which one's going to be her house. And in the movie, you see pretty quickly, like she falls over the boat, and then you hear, this is when you start hearing, Laura!
That's when we get 10 minutes of Laura!
Laura! And she's hanging on a buoy. And I'm someone who's a pretty strong swimmer. And when I learned to swim, it was in the Atlantic Ocean, and you had to do a perimeter around Glen Cove, and it's very challenging to swim in that. It's cold water in the middle of summer. She's doing it at night, and she's only learned a few months ago.
Yeah,
and in the dark, and no swim gear, and she swims home, and she's got this amazing amount of time to go home, change, cut her hair, grab her stuff, pull it together, and mop the floor.
Yeah.
But oh shit, what do I do with the ring? Bap, I'll just flush it down the toilet. That,
Yeah, all of that.
Not a very powerful toilet, by the way.
Apparently not. It's a low flush, like a low power toilet. He's conserving water. He's OCD. He's worried about that sort of thing. Yeah, that's one of the things I put in my notes. I'm like, why is she cutting the hair at the house? Which, by the way,
Yeah,
hair's going to get everywhere. Why take the wedding ring off? Why do all of these? Get the fuck out of that house.
get the fuck out of that goddamn house. Just slap a wig on your head and go.
Yeah.
You can cut it. She's in a bus station. People do that at bus stations. They're all escaping from somebody.
Yeah, no shit.
That's why they're so scary.
Why cut it? You're putting on a wig.
It's just, well, it's a change because she goes from having super long, beautiful hair to just long, beautiful hair.
Yeah.
And that's the big change in her appearance.
Yeah. He'll never know it's her. She's cut 5 inches off her hair. She looks totally different.
By the way, and she has, if you look at Julia Roberts, she has a very distinctive face. Like, it doesn't matter if she wears a wig, you can see her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
She's not very, she seems to have done a lot of planning for this. Like, she's got like the to-go bag. It's got clothes. It's got a lot of money. Like, she's got like what my friend Deirdre introduced me to this term. It's called tuck money, where you kind of like, you know, she's been working in her job and tucking that money away for this, like, to run away.
Yeah.
She's got like a huge wad of cash. You know, she's ready. She's been waiting for this moment to take advantage. But I don't know why she thought, I'll also like cut my hair and take off the wedding ring in the house, and all this is all shit that could be done later.
It doesn't make any sense that she would. I'm like, once again, swimming is very challenging to the human body. To swim the distance that she's going, then go up a hill, then climb into that house, which turns out it's a fake house. It's like a fake front to it.
Oh.
Yeah. But then to go into that house, then get dressed, and then go again. You're going to be exhausted. Like, she should have just drugged him so that he's passed out, and then take your time and go.
You should see the new Invisible Man movie.
Okay.
There is some very like Sleeping with the Enemy style things going on in that movie, but I think done a little better.
Okay.
Just FYI. It's good.
I mean, I guess she has to fake her death. She's not just running away from him.
Right.
So, okay, I get that. But then, I don't know. There's a lot of things that have to go exactly correctly for that to work. And they just happen to, except for the ring.
Yeah. More on that later.
Yes. Oy, oy, oy.
It's also really the idea that she has to fake her death. I know that people will think that that's like some crazy thing, but the truth is, and like not much has changed, like it is very hard for women to get protected in these situations. Right. Like, as we learned from, say, the OJ situation, like you can call the police all you want. The police might take your husband's side. They may not protect you. And it's still a thing. Like, I know that like faking your own death seems really extreme, but to me, I'm like, sure. Like, it might be something you have to do.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason. So I was reading about this movie. It's been remade like 14 times. Did you see that?
No.
All over the world. Like different versions of this movie. And I think it's because this kind of story clearly connects with an audience. I think probably not wrong, a female audience. I think it's the same in the way women are kind of drawn to true crime stories. Like, they're almost like educational. They're almost like we could learn something from them to protect ourselves in shitty situations. And I think maybe these kinds of movies, these Lifetime movies, I think maybe a lot of women are drawn to them for that reason. So this movie, the story is just, I think a lot of women can relate to it. And clearly it clicks with people because, like I said, 14 different remakes all over the world.
That's crazy.
I know. I was like, are you kidding me? And they're all listed like on the Wikipedia page as like remakes of Sleeping with the Enemy. They're not listed as movies that are similar to Sleeping with They're all listed as remakes.
Wow.
That's insane. I wonder if it's like the most remade movie ever.
I wonder if the author got paid every single time.
I hope she did.
I hope she did too. Not great writing. I don't think she's still with us. But in the book, it's very similar, except she writes a lot about the characters actually, it's Sarah who becomes Laura, not Laura who becomes
Oh,
Sarah.
that's interesting. Why reverse something like that? It's so weird.
I thought that was so distracting to me. And then everybody keeps describing her. She's actually around 30 and she's been married to him for a while. And everybody talks about the fact that she's so thin and that she wears really baggy clothes. It's to cover her bruises.
Yeah.
And when she finally does get away from him, she doesn't have that much money. She kind of goes on a whim. And so when she lands in Iowa, which is where we're going to be talking about, she's so broke that, first of all, she doesn't rent a house. She rents a room.
It is.
She's like, I need a lot of space.
Yeah, it is $700 a month. And it's a huge, gorgeous house with furniture,
with furnishings.
But to be fair, she is in Iowa, so like keep that in mind. No, I'm sorry, Iowa, but you know, you're in Iowa.
It's less expensive than where we live.
Exactly.
No, but it's also less expensive where we live. Yeah.
So I love go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say she rents this house. She moves in. It has all this furniture. And then she starts painting. And I was like, what is she doing? She's renting. Why is she painting? But she's trying to make it her
she's
own.
Nesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She messes up the hand
got
towels.
Money, which makes her feel great. Her cupboards are really sloppy. That makes her feel good. For me, it would be like if I were in the situation she was, because she lived in an open plan. Like she could see the husband. Now she's in a situation where anybody could be around a corner and she can't see them. Like I would think that that'd be too much space to deal with. I would think you would want something smaller, but we want Julia Roberts in a big house. Okay.
Yeah.
So she gets into the big house and she's living next door to a guy,
of course,
who's the drama person. Just like in the book, in the movie, she meets him and he's very flamboyant and likes to sing out loud and stuff. And immediately in the book, you get their character's point of view. They're right away, they're checking each other out and assessing one another physically. And it's like, you've been in a horrible relationship for how many years? You're going to all of a sudden look for a new daddy? Like, no, you're going to. So you would think.
Ben is the weakest link in this movie for me, actually.
Ben is as creepy as Patrick Bergen's mustache. Yeah.
Yes.
He doesn't know boundaries. He stands too close to her. He immediately moves in for the kill. Like, hey, single lady, me single man, come on. Like, the Regal Beagle.
Make me pie.
Yeah. Oh, stands so close to her. And then when she looks freaked out, he is being such an asshole. He makes it about him and doesn't think like maybe this person is escaping something and maybe that's making her upset and maybe I can be a thoughtful human being and give her space and give her time.
Yeah.
But
no, it's about him. He's got to have her now. Yeah. He does this whole, like, he keeps showing up at her house and he keeps, I'm like, dude, learn to knock. Just knock.
Yes.
Like he pounds on her door like a fucking psycho, like every chance he gets. I'm like, for Christ's sake, Ben. How many times do you have to say to someone, I'm sorry, did I scare you? Before you realize that you're not
scaring them.
That you're scaring them. Like, you fucking creep. I think he comes on way too strong. And I was like, oh my God, if they made a sequel, it would just be her faking her own death to get away from Ben again. Like, so he's another creep. I think he's a creep.
I think he's very creepy. He doesn't understand her boundaries, doesn't give her any kind of a break. Like, I guess there are no single women for him to date anymore where he's from and he's lonely. Maybe. Who knows? But he moves super, super fast on her.
There's throughout the movie, there's scenes where like he comes on really strong. He fucking scares the shit out of her. She runs away and then they run into each other again somewhere else. And she's like, let's forget that happened. And then they just and she apologizes to him and then it moves on and it just happens again. And it's the same thing over and over and over where he gets fucking creepy. And then she's like, I'm scared and runs away. And the next day, I'm sorry that I got scared. I'm
Yeah,
like,
he pouts about it.
yeah, ugh. He was
It's
not
so
my fave.
annoying. No, he's not. And then there's this whole scene in the movie that goes on forever where we get two oldies, and it's Julia Roberts in hats and Julia Roberts dancing with this guy. And
It is so
they play
weird.
the whole song.
They play all of Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl, where he, like, first he puts her on this, he's like, get on my stage here. And, like, she sits on a swing and he turns on the, like, background stars or whatever. And then there's this whole, like, montage where they, like, put on hats and to Brown Eyed Girl and dance. It's
To run around Sue.
Yeah, I'm like, first of all, he's too young for Runaround Sue. It's so weird. Brown Eyed Girl, sure, maybe, but like Runaround Sue, he's too young for that. It's very weird. But the scene just goes on and on and on.
It drags. The middle of this movie totally freaking drags. And we're supposed to root for them as a couple. Well, there's another thing that happens I think is actually really effective, which is that her only relative is her blind mother that's staying in an old folks home. And she calls her mother once a week. And then because she's dead, she can't call her mother, but she calls and doesn't talk to her, which I thought was a really effective thing.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that the Ben character is really good for is that she dresses up as a boy and finally goes into character out someplace. And she does a good job. She sees her mother recognizes her. Now, as this is going on, in the other part of the movie, Patrick Bergin is losing his goddamn mind and is mustache twirling evil. Like his beady eyes shoot around everywhere he goes. And people just run from him because he looks like a maniac.
Yeah. There's a scene where he's at work. I guess he's like an investment banker or something. And one of her quote unquote friends from the YWCA calls him to offer her condolences to Laura or to him about Laura's death. And she fucking reveals everything. To it. Like, I'm like, why are you sharing all these details with a stranger that you have never met? I mean, she practically says, are you sure she didn't fake her death? Like, she's like, I met her at our swimming class. My wife doesn't know how to swim. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure it was her. She also had bruises all over her body because she was a gymnast, or whatever. And he's like, what?
And he beats up the phone in his office.
Yeah.
And it's an interior office, but there's glass all around him. Like everyone could see him acting like a maniac.
Yeah, everyone in his office is like, oh, here we go again.
Here again. This shit. So he leaves and he's going to start investigating. That's when he goes back to the house and he finds the ring in the toilet. And he thinks, aha, she got away from me.
I wrote in my notes, ew, he reached his hand in the toilet.
If I saw a diamond ring, I would too. But anyway, I don't care. I'll watch it.
This is when the movie starts like really falling apart. Like,
yes,
the stuff with him and with Patrick Bergin and Julia Roberts is scary and creepy, entertaining. But all the stuff with Ben is distracting from, I think, the more interesting part of the movie.
Well, we never really figure out, first of all, there's a huge age gap between Julia Roberts and Patrick Bergin. So, like, how did they meet? Like, what is the relationship? And then we never really get a glimpse of what she saw in him. We never see him be really, truly charming or, you know what I mean? Like, you need somebody who has, like a Brad Pitt or somebody who could be, like, has a moment where you're like, oh, he seems really nice. He seems normal. Patrick Bergin never seems normal.
No.
He always looked like he's ready to beat the shit out of somebody. Like he's the guy that wants to talk to the manager. And he's got a word to say.
Why are my pizza egg rolls cold? I want to talk to the manager.
He's going to write a very stern letter to the editor. Like that's his face. That's his vibe. What does she see in him? I mean, he's rich. Okay.
Yeah.
They got a dope house, but if he's always you're this uncomfortable, and I'm not putting blame on her. I'm just saying that in those kind of relationships, a lot of times what happens is there is a charm offensive, and that's and every once in a while they slip up and start beating, and they're like, well, it's just an anomaly. He's normally a great guy. Like we never see him be a great guy, so we don't understand what she saw him in the first place.
Yeah.
Because she's beautiful and she could do better.
And she tells a story to a woman on the bus because
Yes.
people just randomly tell strangers everything in this movie. It happens a lot. And she tells the story about like, that he like snapped like once they got married. It was like the honeymoon was literally over, like, and he started like beating her and things like that. So he must have really put on the charm when they were courting, but we never see it. You're right.
We never get that. We never, there's never a moment where she says, at first it was great, but then this happened or anything. It's just like she married a guy who just got abusive as soon as he married her. I don't know. I don't see where he's coming from. He's such a thinly drawn character. Like he's just a control freak and a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
So, so he winds up at the same. I think this is a good scene. They go to the hospital. Her mother recognizes her voice and understands her daughter's in danger. You in danger, girl.
Mm-hmm.
So understands the situation. And then as soon as she leaves the room, Patrick Bergin comes in and then he's trying, and that's scary. Like he's with the mother, like feeding her the steak.
Yeah, you're really scared for her. You don't want anything bad to happen to her. There's also something else in that scene that's so weird though, where he's drinking from a water fountain. And I was like,
my God.
And I was like, where did Patrick Bergin learn to drink from a water fountain? Because dude doesn't drink like a normal human being from a water fountain. Like, did you see how he was like slurping it? Like, when he's drinking.
Some people do that. And then they had alongside Julia Roberts at the water fountain too.
Yeah.
For this water fountains, they used to be a thing, you guys, and we trusted them
to not give us the coronavirus.
Yes. Oh my God.
I think the water fountain is actually a character in the movie. It might be in the credits.
Yes.
I should look at it. It gets so much screen time.
It's a very bizarre choice, but so then he figures out, how does he find her address? But he does find her. She goes out on a couple of, the date scenes with them take forever too. The date with Ben and her.
Well, so
but
he hears from the mother because he pretends to be a cop. So he hears from the mother that Julia Roberts is dating a drama teacher at the college, but he doesn't know which drama teacher. Apparently this college has multiple drama teachers, and so
there's like 5 of them.
Yeah,
and so he grabs one in his car.
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm gay," like, and he's like, pistol whips him and gets out of the car or something. I actually want to go back to one more thing. After they have their like brown-eyed girl dress up montage, they go back to her place and they're like making out on the stairs, and they're like laying down on the stairs and like making out. Not comfortable, by the way, not comfortable.
No.
Don't make out on the stairs. And once again, dude comes on like way too strong, and like she has to like push him off and says like, "I'm not ready for this," and he's like, ugh, and he like leaves, and I was like, oh, he must be so disappointed because his big theater move is usually such a panty dropper for him. Like, he's like, oh man, I put her on the stage with the stars and the swing and put the hats on her. That's my big move. That's my signature move. And it still didn't work.
It's normally a panty dropper.
Yeah. He's so bummed. He's a real creep too. He's
really creepy. And so she's at home and it's this film is well directed. Like, it's the scary scenes are really well done. Like, she's in the tub and she hears a noise, and this is where I'm like, why is she renting this gigantic house all for herself? If you've been beaten and abused, wouldn't you want a space where you could see everything and have a little more control over it? I would, but she needs a house with stairs and different rooms, closing the doors, opening the doors, and that's when she notices that the hand towels are now perfect, and then she looks at the cupboard and the corn is all perfect.
No! To be fair, I also cry when people reorganize my pantry. I totally get it. It's a thing. You have it set up the way you like it. This is also another example of Ben being so thirsty, right? Because they have this whole idea of, or he says, we'll hang out tomorrow. And she's like, okay. And then she's like running around the house now. She's scared because the hand towels are even and the corn is all lined up. And then once again, dude pounds on her door like a fucking psycho. And he's like, it's tomorrow. It's 12:05. I'm like, Ben, go to bed.
Be more useful.
He's so
Be on the lookout.
It's already tomorrow. Okay, creep. Like he's gonna like stand outside her house playing In Your Eyes on the boombox. Like, come on, Ben, give her some space. I mean, I guess it's fine, but then it turns out, Patrick Bergen's in the house, and he like, Ben and him fight, but he knocks Ben out pretty quickly.
Ben's not a great fighter.
He's a pussy.
He's a lover, not a fighter. Yeah, Sonia.
If they were going to do a musical number, Ben would kick his ass. Like, when you're a jet, he would totally win, but in a fight, not so much. And then her and Patrick Bergen start fighting. And
she gets the gun away from him. Mm-hmm. And it's a great last scene. She calls for help.
For sure. That's it's a really good scene.
It's really well done. Because he's like, what are you going to do? I just shot an intruder. Can you send somebody here? Yeah. Which I remember in the movie theater, everybody's like erupted into applause.
Oh my God.
You're like, good.
Yeah, everyone. Can
we get out of this movie now?
Yeah, you think she's just going to call the police. You okay?
I'm fine. No, it's my allergies.
Oh, I thought maybe you saw that your cans were all lined up properly in your cupboard.
No, I just covered my mic while I was coughing.
Yeah, you think she's going to call the police and be like, my ex-husband's here, he's stalking me, blah, blah, blah. But instead it's come quickly, I've killed an intruder. And then she shoots it. Spoilers for Sleeping with the Enemy. And it is like a big line. And like, I saw it in the theater too. And everyone's like, yay, fuck that guy. She killed him. Yeah. As she should actually, fuck him.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck him.
I don't have any sympathy for him. So... that is that. Do you think Ben and Laura are still together?
I think Laura, once she gets some self-confidence, is going to be like, what am I doing with this guy?
Yeah.
He's nice enough, but man, he needs a lot of attention. Like she just left somebody who demanded all of her attention to get another person who demands her attention on their terms.
Yeah. No, I stand by my theory that she would have to fake her own death again to get away from him.
I'd actually see that movie. I would see where does she wind up next?
Oh my God, wouldn't you love it if Julia Roberts made a sequel to Sleeping with the Enemy? It's like Sleeping with the Enemy again.
So she's married to someone else, okay?
No, I like that she's married to Ben again. Like to Ben.
No, but she left Ben, okay? So she faked her death, left Ben. Yeah. She's with another guy. It's been all these years later. And then all of a sudden, her husband won't wake up. She's trying to wake her husband up. And then all of a sudden, she hears Brown Eyed Girl coming over her Amazon speaker. And she's like, what?
No!
And Ben just shows up.
Yeah. And he's like, put on this hat. Put on this hat.
Make me some apple pie.
Apple pie. Put on this hat.
Laura.
I would see that movie. I would totally see it.
I would totally see that movie.
Oh. Julia Roberts, get on it. Make that movie. Yeah. Would you watch this movie again?
I probably would. I will say this: I find it very watchable. I think it's very well shot. I mean, most of the actors are. I mean, they're doing the best they can with the material they're given.
For sure.
Once again, I think hair and makeup could use a little extra work here. A couple of times, Ben's hair was distracting me because it was so bad.
It's like a short version of Julia Roberts' hair. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's both like this, like kind of messy, curly. I don't know. She has gorgeous mane of hair in this movie.
But it's her smile and her hair. Yeah. Like that's what we're supposed to. We have to get that at least once in every movie with her, or we feel ripped off. Like that's her special talent. That's her superpower.
Yes.
And we don't get the laugh and the smile and all that. Forget it.
I haven't seen all of Julia Roberts' movies, but do they do it in like Mary Riley for some reason? There's also like a montage to Brown Eyed Girl, and she dances in Mary Riley, and like.
She did 2 movies where she attempted an Irish accent, and it was like, oof.
That's not your thing, Julia Roberts. It's okay.
No, but I think she was trying to expand. You know, You're just trying to expand. I get it.
Yeah.
But no, they're not. They're not good movies. My friend Erin is friends with someone named Mary Riley, and that movie drove her crazy.
Oh, I bet.
Because people will walk around going, Mary Riley.
Mary Riley. That's all I remember about it.
Just the commercials.
Yeah. Oh man, do you think this movie's better or worse than The Hand That Rocks the Cradle?
Worse. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle is much better.
I think so too. I would rather watch Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
I think that one's grounded a little more reality than this one, believe it or not. I think some of it makes more sense, and the motivations make more sense. I think here, it's just preposterous. Like the things people say and do, are some of the choices that are made are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's watchable.
It's very watchable, and I'm still glad we watched it because it is actually really fun to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to hear some other 1991 movies?
Sure.
Okay. So actually in this year, Julia Roberts' other movie came out, Dying Young.
We need to do that one day.
Yeah, that movie is
bananas.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. Also, L.A. Story with Steve Martin.
I love L.A. Story.
I love L.A. Story. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's such a good one. He Said, She Said with Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins.
That was, my brother loved that movie.
Really? I haven't seen it since the theater, but I like those actors. Maybe I would like it.
Me too.
I know you know this movie, The Doors.
Yes. Which we'll do one day.
Yeah, that's on our list. La Femme Nikita. That's a good movie. New Jack City.
Oh, that's a great movie.
I haven't seen that one in a long time either.
See ya, and I wouldn't want to be ya.
Drop Dead Fred.
Movie. I like Drop Dead Fred.
Me too. That's one of those movies that either you super love it or you super hate it, I think. And I am into the super love it category. Truly, Madly, Deeply with Alan Rickman. That was kind of like the British Ghost. It's good.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's good. I think you would really like that one.
I love Alan Rickman too.
Yeah, me too. And Doc Hollywood came out.
Oh, I remember Doc Hollywood. Oh my God, that movie's so silly.
I would watch that one again for sure.
Yeah.
That's with Michael J. Fox, and I think Woody Harrelson's in a supporting role. It's really good. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then House Party 2.
Woo!
With the Pajama Jammy Jam. Everybody, when I told them I was watching House Party, they're like, oh, with the Pajama Jammy Jam. And I was like, that's House Party 2, you monsters. Come on, get it right. That's our 91 movies.
So do you want to hear a few of the tunes that were popular in 91? Here we go. Amy Grant, Baby Baby. That stupid song was played
baby, baby, baby.
Everywhere.
You couldn't get away from it.
Could not get away. And it has like 4 lyrics. I mean, she just says the same thing. Oh, it's so stupid. Yeah. REM, Losing My Religion. You couldn't get away from that song.
I love REM.
I love REM. I miss REM.
Me too.
Boys to Men, Motown Philly.
That song is still a jam.
That's Naughty by Nature, OPP.
Oh, I love that one. Other People's Property.
Or something else. Sonia.
Or something else.
Guns N' Roses, You Could Be Mine.
That's a good song.
That's a really good song. And my favorite here, Metallica, Enter Sandman.
I love that song.
That's so good.
That's a really good song. That's one of those ones that I would listen to on the treadmill a lot because it gets you going.
Oh, totally.
It's a great workout song.
They did that. Metallica did it once with Jimmy Fallon and the Roots. You know, they used the kids' instruments. It was really good.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. I will totally watch that. What else are you dorking out about? You probably have a long list of things you're watching or reading or listening to right now.
Yeah, I'm collecting them. So I started last night with something from Netflix called Tiger King.
That's on my list. I'm very curious. What'd you think?
Oh my God, it's batshit.
Ooh,
like nice. Real life is batshit. You know, and it's this guy named Joe Exotic. He's in Oklahoma.
That's his real name, or
that's I don't know. He mentions his real name, but it's a really hard to pronounce name, so he just goes by Joe Exotic.
Okay.
He owns a cat farm. He has tigers and lions and all kinds of exotic animals, hundreds of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a gun-toting person. He's a mullet wearer.
Oh boy.
And he's gay as a May morning and is married to 2 dudes. He's into polygamy. And it's fascinating. And I love animals, and so it's a hard one for me to watch because I never want to see animals be abused.
Yeah,
they're not. But these are people who have zoos, and they have people come over like, hey, do you want to pet a baby tiger? And the fact is, yes, I goddamn do.
Yeah,
I really want to. But is it good to do that? Is it good to have them in Oklahoma?
Right.
Like versus where they're supposed to be from. So there's their story. And then there's this woman who's an animal rights activist who's trying to shut them down. And she seems pretty normal. She has her own sanctuary, but it seems to be a little more humane and stuff like that. Then you find out she's got a backstory that's bananas. And then they meet people and they sue one another. And I'm only like 3/4 of the way through it, but gosh. It's like 5 or 6 episodes. It's fascinating and it's crazy, and you won't get these people out of your head. Like, it's just one woman, you meet her, they do his talking head with her, and then eventually you realize her arm was ripped off by a tiger, and she went back to work a couple of days later, and they said to her, look, we could reattach the arm. It'll take a couple of years with surgeries and some physical therapy, but you can keep your arm, or we could just amputate and go back to work. She goes, amputate it.
Oh my God. I don't go back to work after a couple of days when I have a cold.
No. Oh no, she's bald. She's ballsy. They're all crazy. I mean, there's a couple of, like, right now there's a moment where it was like making me upset because the Joe Exotic is not doing well financially, so they don't have as much food to feed the animals. So they're kind of getting restless and that kind of feeling. So I don't know how it ends. I don't think it's bad, but I think Joe is if I looked up on Wikipedia, Joe's in jail.
Okay.
But we're finding out why he's in jail, basically.
Right.
And this was a podcast that came out last year, and I didn't listen to it. I heard about it, but I think I'll look for it now. But it's one of those things, it's on Netflix. Once you start watching, you're not going to want to stop.
Dude, bless you, Netflix, and your documentary series. They're always so awesome. They're so good.
You're fine staying home.
Yeah.
Right? Because this shit's on. I mean, it was I was up till 1 a.m. watching this.
Like, just all the different Netflix documentary series that you can watch. All the, like, Wild Wild Country, or, Making a Murderer, or what was it? There was one called Evil Genius. Like, just all the different things. It's fascinating. I love that Netflix has all these documentaries we can watch, and we can learn all these crazy stories. It's insane. That's on my list. My Netflix queue.
I wouldn't watch it with your son.
No, I don't watch. Yeah. I don't watch anything good with him.
No, okay, good. Because I think but maybe I had small kids, you might want to do it because they're going to be attracted to the little baby animals, but it's kind of they feed the animals.
Yeah.
With other animals, like, because that's what happens. So I wouldn't do it, but for grown-ups, yes.
Well, we got the video game Animal Crossing that everyone's losing their shit about, and I think that David and Calvin are going to be playing a lot of Animal Crossing. So maybe I'll sit on the couch and watch that, and they can play Animal Crossing. So last night, I just learned this morning that Kenny Rogers passed away.
Yes, very sorry.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers was like a huge staple in my childhood. My dad loved Kenny Rogers. Like, we had like every Kenny Rogers album on 8-track. Like, my dad's not like a concert guy, but he saw Kenny Rogers like multiple times. And we used to have like a poster up in our house, like, of Kenny Rogers, like a poster. I'm like, we're talking about a grown man with like a taped poster, like, I'm on as well, and my dad's just like not that kind of guy. But I think younger people probably don't know, Kenny Rogers, like everyone's like, oh, the gambler or whatever. But like before there was like a Garth Brooks or Shania Twain, like Kenny Rogers was the one that kind of brought country into like pop. And he was everywhere. Like he, you know, he made shitty movies, he made shitty TV movies, but he definitely had like a distinct voice, and he had like a million hits. I looked it up. He had 50 singles in the country top 40, and 20 of them were in the top 40 for pop, that's a lot. And and I think his songs are really so I've been listening a lot this morning, kind of revisiting, and like started a text thread with my family, and we're sharing different songs, and because we listen to it so much. And he did a lot of songs that were like ballads, so it's like a lot of like Lady and She Believes in Me and stuff, but he also did these other songs where you're like, these songs are fucked up. So if you listen to like Coward of the County.
Yes, I love Coward of the County.
The song is messed up. It's about rape and murder. And then there's like Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town, and it's about a guy who comes home from war, and he's like in a wheelchair, and his wife kind of is like stepping out on him at night, and he wants to kill her. And, you know, Lucille's a song that's really sad. Reuben James is about like a black man who's raising a white child. Like his songs, like there's like a story to them. You know, they're very interesting, and it's just kind of a trip to be listening to them again as an adult. Because as a kid, I was just like, whatever, like I would just sing along and not really know the words. And now as an adult, I'm like, these songs are messed up.
My sister has this great story. She was moving into an apartment in San Francisco State, and all of a sudden somebody across the hall starts singing, "Let's go out in a blaze of glory." And then my sister started singing along, and then like other people in the hallway walked in the hallway and started chiming in. And some of the people looked at them like, "What are you talking about here? Like, this is Kenny Rogers."
Yeah.
It's one of the best songs ever.
He was insanely popular back in the day.
He was.
You know, The Gambler is a classic. It's just a million. I sent one to my sister called Buckaroos that she's been obsessively listening to this morning, and it's such a trippy song. I don't know. It's a bummer. I mean, he's 81.
No, he had a good life.
Yeah, he had a good life. I just, you know, when there's just certain musicians or like when or comedians, like when George Carlin passed away, like that remind me a lot of my dad. Because my dad loved George Carlin, and I was watching George Carlin when it was not appropriate. Like for me, I was like 10 or something watching like George Carlin on HBO. You know, these kind of things I associate with my childhood. So, and one of them's Kenny Rogers. So, R.I.P. Kenny Rogers.
He was special.
I think so too. Nobody sounds like Kenny Rogers.
No, he had a really nice voice.
Yeah.
And he did great duets with people too.
Yeah. I saw there's a really sad, Dolly Parton put out a video on Twitter. Yeah. And it's really sad. He did a few songs with her, like Islands in the Stream, and he did.
Which is a great song, by the way.
Such a great song. I love that song.
Me too.
I have it on playlists for sure. And then he did some songs with like Kim Carnes and Sheena Easton. You know, but just nobody sounded like Kenny Rogers. Like if you heard a Kenny Rogers song, you knew.
He had a personality too. Yeah. Like he was on talk shows a lot, and he hosted shows, and he was on the Muppet Show. Remember he was on the Muppet Show, and they did The Gambler. I bet it was like my favorite. He was special.
Yeah, even when he was young, he looked old.
Yeah.
Like he always had like silver, you know, gray hair and like the beard. And
what was his band called? The Association?
It was oh shit, I do know this. I'm
trying to look it up.
I just like, oh my god, my dad and I were just talking
what
about
condition my condition was in.
It was
a
Kenny
great
Rogers
song.
And the first edition. Yeah.
First edition.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. I looked it up.
The problem that he did, and he knows it, is that he got really bad plastic surgery like 10 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he ruined a great face because he was so handsome. He didn't need to, you were like 80. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
the Scholars, the new Christie Minstrels, the first edition. Dolly Parton, Dottie West.
Yeah.
Barry Gibb, Kim Carnes. He did that song with Kim Carnes.
I love that song.
Lionel Richie. Oh my God.
So
Kenny.
here in the Bay Area, we have this. I guess I don't know if you'd call it a coliseum, but it's called the Cow Palace.
Yeah, I've been to the Cow Palace.
So the Cow Palace is kind of a trip. It's like they do like rodeos there, and they do the dog show there every year. By the way, I still go to the dog show like every year because it's the fucking best, and you can go in the back and like pet all the dogs and stuff. I love the dog show. Anyway, it's kind of a trip, but they also used to do really big like arena concerts there, and that's where like my parents saw Kenny Rogers. But they have all these pictures, like framed pictures up from different concerts throughout the years, and I always stop at the one that's got Kenny Rogers, and I always like stare at it because he looks amazing. He's wearing like kind of like a shirt that's like kind of got some sequins on it, and I don't know, he's just like so 80s looking in like the most amazing way. And then I try to envision like my parents like at this Kenny Rogers, because my parents were like young parents. They had me when they were like 21. So they were probably in their 30s, maybe, going to see Kenny Rogers. To me, 30s back then was so old. My parents are so old, but now I'm like, oh my God, they were babies. Like going to see Kenny Rogers, and it was like their big night out, you know, to go see Kenny. I don't know. It just takes me back. So I'm going on and on about Kenny Rogers. I'm just really dorking out about Kenny Rogers today. So
everyone should.
I think they should. Everyone should go and listen to some of his songs. They're really good. There's more than just The Gambler. There's some really good like storytelling in there, and he was an original. Let's just say he was more than Kenny Rogers Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever that restaurant was that he had. Do you remember that Seinfeld episode about Kenny Rogers Roasters or something, and he had like a line of chicken restaurants. But there was go ahead.
But they were successful for a while,
Yeah.
but then they stopped being successful.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of stuff going on.
Apparently they're still a thing overseas and not
Oh,
here.
okay.
But I just remember that episode of Seinfeld where one opens up and it's the neon sign is like keeping like Kramer awake at night. He's getting all weird, and oh my God, so everything ties back to either a Simpsons or a Seinfeld episode for me. Anyway, I'm so glad that we got to talk about Sleeping with the Enemy. Are there any other differences in the book that you noticed?
No, there's just some weird. No, it pretty much ends the way it does in the movie, but the motivations are even dumber in the book than they are in the movie, believe it or not.
Okay, that's good to know.
So yeah, you don't need to read this. There's a whole thing in here about how her husband always wants her to wear a teddy and not wear underwear, and they describe it. And like, it's such an 80s thing. This book was written in the 80s.
Yeah.
But at the very end, you know, she trusts Ben because she wears a teddy for him, and you're supposed to be all excited for her because, like, oh, good, she's gonna do this for this guy. But instead of the one that used to beat her up, I'm like, hey, is that really gross though? And then I look at the cover of this book, and there's a picture of a teddy on a chair.
Oh dear,
Jesus Christ!
What a weird book.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Bless her heart.
Oh gosh, Margo, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fit Chick for Twitter and Instagram. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com. And you and I also co-host What a Creep. So you guys check out that podcast.
Yeah, it's a good one. And we're putting out all kinds of fun, like extra bonus stuff. If you go to our Patreon page, we're having a really good time on that one. I know it doesn't sound like it's a good time, but it is actually a good time, I promise. And you can find me at The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and thesoniashow.com. And you can find Dorking Out at dorkingout.com and Dorking Out Show on Twitter. And this was super fun, Margo. I am so glad that we talked about Sleeping with the Enemy. And I want you to know that I can't live without you. And I won't let you live without me, Margo!